What's up, college football fans? Snowy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by FAU insider Christian Proscia, and we're going to jump into a FAU preview for this 2024 season. But before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's truly all that we talk about. Christian, appreciate you jumping on. Where can everybody find the work that you do in covering FAU?
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to get into it. If you want to follow me and everything I do, my personal photography Instagram, because I'm a photojournalist based out of FAU. My personal is at Christian Proscia Photography on Instagram, at CP_photo 2004 on Twitter. And I shoot and write and podcast for New Era Prep and Bleacher Brothers under the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network.
Going into year two for Tom Herman, coming off of an initial season going 4-8, what are the expectations in this season?
For me, I'd say my expectations in year two of the Herman era it's pretty simple. Just improve off of last year. Going 4-8, like you said, wasn't what we thought was going to happen. But when you lose a few key starters due to major injuries, there's nothing you can really do about it. So I believe building off of a good foundation set in year one and building into bowl eligibility, and I'm going to give a hot take, a shot at conference leaderboards and a push for a conference title in year two is definitely attainable. We've got the coaching, we have the staff, we've got the personnel, we have the P4 experience throughout the entire building. Once again, both in the coaching tree, but also around the locker room. We've got the schedule. So I personally believe there's no reason to say why not be able to compete with the big dogs in the conference.
I'm excited to go over the schedule with you towards the end of this thing because that is bold, going from 4-8 to possibly conference contenders. But moving on to Cameron Fancher, is that, if you correct me if I'm saying his last name wrong, but I believe he transferred in from Marshall, quarterback. Is he the presumed starter, A, and then B, what does he bring to this offense?
As of right now, our QB battle is wide open between Cam Fancher and returning Owl Tyreek Starks. Personally, I am comfortable with both of them being our week one starter at Michigan State. They both provide a lot of excellence on the field. They both possess strong arms, and they're both elite dual threat guys. Cam is a lefty, which makes him a little more of a wild card in defensive game planning versus normal righties. You're not really used to seeing a lot of lefties in today's college football. So I think that's something unique that he brings to the table. However, I would like to, now that I have a little bit of a platform, be able to give both of them a shout out with their skill sets. Like I said, Cam is a lefty. I love what he possesses because he does possess a lot of field maturity and talent, which led to success at Marshall. Tyreek Starks' development from the end of last season to today is night and day. The game has slowed down for him a lot. He's really developed in his reads. He's developed as a pure quarterback throughout the offseason, and his decision making has improved from what I saw during the season and in practices versus what I saw in spring ball. And he's playing with a higher command of the field, and they've both really stepped up as leaders in this offense.
If you had to guess, who's coming out as a starter against Michigan State?
Honestly, I'm gonna have to throw it. I think Cam is going to end up being week one starter. When you pull a quarterback out of the portal during the offseason, it's pretty much like that's the intention, is that's going to be my guy. So I think Cam will probably get the keys to the Lambeau week one against Michigan State. I'm very interested to see how this quarterback battle will continue to heat up throughout the entire offseason, because it has been peak cinema down in Boca Raton throughout the offseason and throughout spring ball.
Last year, FAU didn't have much of a running game. What has been addressed to hopefully bolster that?
I mean, last year, FAU's starting running back, Larry McCammon, was battling multiple lower leg injuries throughout the majority of the season. So, yeah, he did have a down year from what we were used to seeing, especially when he took Conference USA by storm during 2022. So, obviously, playing injured, like I said, that was one of the major injuries I was talking about earlier. Really was a detriment to his play style and ultimately did kind of tank his draft stock a little. But FAU addressed that by pulling CJ Campbell from Florida State out of the portal. I think that he is lightning in a bottle. I love what he brings to the table. And during the spring game, this is a funny story. The first play coming out of the second half, I'm still walking back onto the field after editing a couple of my pictures to get some stuff on social media. By the time the ball had been kicked and the first play had happened, CJ was already in the end zone with a 75-yard touchdown. So that's what he's bringing to the table at FAU. We're also pairing him with returning Owls, Zuberi Mobley and Jermani Sands, who I believe both will see a serious increase in snap count this year. So when you're coming from having Larry McCammon and Kobe Lewis, Kobe Lewis was a Big Ten player. He played at Purdue for a couple seasons before going to FAU for his final year last year. So pairing them with those younger running backs, like I said, with Mobley and with Sands, learning the experience from them, and then getting another P5 dude is going to be huge for this run game.
How are FAU's NIL efforts?
FAU does quite well on the NIL sphere. Our athletic department as a whole seriously benefits from NIL. It's not just football and men's basketball receiving everything. Throughout the entire athletic department, all of our sports receive love, which is awesome for me. Boca Raton is a very financially well-off region in South Florida, which definitely helps our NIL efforts.
Aside from quarterback and maybe a little bit of running back, but are there two positions specifically anyway that you are really intrigued in going into this fall camp as far as position battles go?
I would say the biggest position battle for me is obviously the quarterbacks. Like we talked about earlier, I'm very interested to see who's going to be the week 1 starter. So I would say that's the biggest headline of position battles. I love our D end room, our front seven. Because we have a lot of new transfers coming in, highlighted by Wilkie Denaud from Auburn / the 2 weeks that he was at Mississippi State before coming to FAU. And then Bryce Langston coming from LSU, once again, talking about the P4 experience that we have in this locker room. I think both of those guys are going to seriously counteract the losses of Evan Anderson, who's now in the NFL, and Latrell Jean, who transferred to Temple. I think those were both immediate replacements that will see big numbers down in the American Conference.
What are your thoughts on the 2024 recruiting class? As well, if you can speak a little bit on the 25 recruiting class. I haven't checked rankings, but I know you guys have gotten a few, I think, higher ranked 3-stars prior to the season even starting. So anyway, if you can speak a bit on 25, but also just give your thoughts on the 2024 recruiting class.
So the 24 recruiting class in both high school and the portal have been elite, in my opinion. Coach Herman and his staff have done an amazing job at recruiting locally, but also branching out nationally when you need to. I believe we'll be able to see multiple true freshmen with large roles going into this season. My biggest shout out is local legend Mike Wright, who is a safety from Palm Beach Gardens, who I have had the pleasure of covering for the past 3 seasons now while he was in high school. He's fast, he's physical, he's athletic, and his field vision is unmatched. He is a locker room leader. He's a guy that will rally a locker room. And when he's on the field, he's a C ball, pick ball type of player. Also, he's a C guy with the ball, knock out the guy with the ball type player. So I love what he brings to the table, especially losing multiple guys in the secondary last year. 25, I will rave about FAU's 25 recruiting class until the day I die. Coach Herman and his staff have really bought in on the Tri-County takeover for FAU. The overwhelming majority of our commits all come from Palm Beach County, where I'm from, all the way down to Miami-Dade. So we're able to knock down dudes that come from historical South Florida programs like St. Thomas Aquinas, Miami Central, Miami Norland, while also going up the state a little into or Columbus, Miami Columbus as well, while also going up north into the state into Osceola, where we locked down 3-star linebacker Robert Lee, and then our biggest emphasis has been linebacker because that all of our linebackers graduate this year, and then defensive back where we locked down another high profile 3-star defensive back Damon Allen from West Boca Raton High School just down the road from FAU.
All right, I want to go over the schedule with you, and you just give me win or loss. Okay, start first game at Michigan State.
I do believe I think we might lose that game. It'll be close. I think we lose it though.
September 7th, Army comes to Boca Raton. So Army.
I think we win. Home opener, we win.
FIU
blowout
at UConn.
I think we win, but it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. UConn has done very well this offseason, and I think UConn is going to surprise a lot of people this year. It should not be a trap game.
Wagner.
Blowout.
North Texas.
Blowout. I'm kidding. I think that's going to be a very good game. I'm very excited to see that game.
Who do you think wins, though?
I think FAU at home will end up being the one winning it.
At UTSA.
I think at UTSA is FAU's only conference loss.
And then South Florida.
Win.
At East Carolina.
Blowout.
At Temple.
Another blowout.
Charlotte.
I'm getting repetitive, but definitely a blowout with Charlotte. Everybody blows out Charlotte.
Yeah. At Tulsa.
Win.
So that's 10-2. That's 10-2. That's okay. Let me ask you this last question. So maybe they go 10-2, maybe they don't. If they don't go to 10-2, what's the minimum, I guess you could say, that constitutes as a successful season in year 2 under Tom Herman?
I believe 6-6 is successful because we've made a bowl, and we improved from the 4-8 from last year, like we talked about. So both of those I would consider a win. Obviously, I would like to be a little higher than 6-6 because the last time we won a bowl game was in our own beautiful stadium, as you can see. Unlike a couple of our conference friends, we actually do have an on-campus stadium, and we have very nice grass. But yeah, I think 6-6 bowl eligibility, I'm fine with that. That is a successful year and possibly being able to put a player or two in the NFL. That is a win in my book. I believe like I said earlier, we have the personnel, we have the coaching, we have the team, and we have the schedule to be able to back up that 10-2 record. As we saw by going through the schedule, we don't play Memphis. We don't play Tulane. Those are the two, in my opinion, clear-cut top dogs in the conference leading into this year. Then the second echelon, I think FAU fits in with North Texas, with UTSA, and with that other school that's out in Tampa. So I think those are the two clear-cut favorites. And then from there, I think it's anybody's game for who's number 3 in the conference, especially with SMU leaving the conference.
Christian, thank you so much. Good luck with all your coverage as we lead into the season, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Appreciate you for having me.